Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Matters That Matter. I'm Simran and I'm in a conversation with my mentor, Susie Singh. Susie, I want to talk to you today about some of the hurdles people commonly face when they start with the practice of processing their emotions. And one of the biggest hurdles that people face is their own conditioning. A lot of times, when people encounter negative emotions, especially emotions like jealousy or greed or anger, because these emotions have such a bad rep, amongst people, uh, people deny the fact that they feel them, or they want to escape acknowledging the fact that this particular emotion is coming up for them. So how can one allow oneself to acknowledge the fact that they're feeling a negative emotion without it meaning anything about who they are as a person?
So I think this is a very, very important and valid point that you have raised, Simran. The thing is that we have a self-image of who we wish to be. And when we start processing our emotions, we get in touch with our shadow self. We get in touch with some of the very dark emotions that we have gotten so used to avoiding and repressing all our lives that it is a big shock for us to discover that these things actually exist in us. So I would urge people not to judge themselves. We have to get into the practice of not judging. We have to get into the practice of telling ourselves that I'm going to go in there and I am going to find a lot of unpleasant stuff about myself that I have been hiding from. But the whole idea of engaging with processing emotions is learning to integrate the parts of me that I have rejected, the parts of me that I have denied. Because if I do not integrate, then I am always going to remain a part of myself. I am never going to be my whole self anyway. And do I want to live my life as only a fraction of who I am? And if I am going to reject parts of myself, can I fully be embraced and accepted by others? So I think this underlying understanding that if I reject parts of me, then people are going to reject the same parts of me. And because the universe is designed such to actually bring us back to completion or bring us back into wholeness, those experiences are going to keep being encountered or manifested by us, or we will attract those kind of experiences into our lives which are directly connected to the rejected parts or the denied parts or the parts that lie in our shadows, so that we have an opportunity to embrace them. So recognizing that I have this tremendous opportunity to actually work with my denied parts and to choose to consciously engage with a process that can make me feel more complete. When that happens, we will also find that we will have a lot more energy, inspiration, enthusiasm will become available to us, because a lot of our life force energy is utilized to keep these shadow emotions in place or locked inside of us. Now, all of that life force energy becomes free and available to us if we choose to actively work with them. So it is a very powerful reminder to us that I'm engaging in this process, because eventually, while the journey may be difficult, while the process may be difficult, it is a process of integration. It is not a process of running myself down or not facing my own darkness. It is merely a way of me learning to accept myself in toto.
Yeah. Another thing that I hear very commonly is the language used when it comes to dealing with emotions that can be problematic. Things like, I have to fight this, or I have to defeat my anger, or I have to defeat my shame. Can this prove to be a hurdle? Because when you spoke about emotional processing, your entire method sounded like a method of allowing. So, can this prove to be a hurdle if people approach their emotions with this attitude of wanting to defeat them?
Yes, it can. And it's unfortunate, but we have been conditioned to treat our difficult emotions as the enemy, which is why we want to fight them. And I always like to refer to our difficult emotions as a friend who we've denied, who we've not
Right.
given that rightful place as a friend. Because if something has hurt me, if something has triggered anger in me, maybe there is a feeling that something is unfair. Now, if I
Yeah.
want my anger to really speak to me and spill its story, that's not going to happen with aggression. You go to anyone and you put a knife to their throat and say, "Tell me your secrets." It's not going to reveal its secrets, right? You want your difficult emotions to open up and confess how you feel deep inside. They're like messengers from your subconscious mind, your difficult emotions. Treat them like your friends. Do not fight them, because you've been fighting them all along, which is why you suppress them, which is why you banished them into the shadows. And now is the time that we are actually releasing all of these banished prisoners from the dark cell of our lives, and we are bringing them out into the sunlight, and we are saying, "Come, sit, be my friend, tell me your woes," and it will speak. That emotion will speak to me. It will comfort me eventually. So the objective is, please remember, all the work that we do with anything we find difficult must be done with love, compassion, understanding, because eventually it is water that cuts the rock and not the other way around.
So we have to be in a state of allowing, and we don't have to resist or fight or defeat our emotions. We have to listen to them and get to know them better. Susie, another difficulty or hurdle that a lot of people face when they start processing their emotions, especially if they're very disconnected from their emotional bodies, is that when they ask themselves what I'm feeling, or if somebody asks themselves, what are you feeling, they go blank, and they feel blankness or numbness. And that can make them feel like it's impossible for them to be aware of what is going on within them. So, what would you like to tell these people who face this?
So, again, this is a very, very important question. That feeling of blankness that they are experiencing is not really blankness. As you very rightly said, it is a feeling of numbness. You know, when there is a tremendous amount of fear arising in us, then very often our consciousness can slip out of the body.
Okay.
And when consciousness slips out of the body, then there is, it's almost like you've gone into freeze mode. And when you're frozen, you're in a state of shock. Shock is also an emotion. And just like you would work with anger or fear, the idea is for you to be patient with this state of shock or numbness or blankness, whatever word we might like to use for it, and wait for us to really observe it closely. It will pass. It will change. It will move into another emotion. It will allow another nested emotion to arise from it when it passes. So we will unfreeze and we will access the deeper emotions. The idea is, don't get impatient. Don't start getting worried that I'm feeling nothing. No, what you are feeling is a state of shock. And you can actually say, okay, I am now feeling numb. And then I am aware that there is a deep state of fear somewhere lurking in and around this emotion that I will come to once this has passed.
Your numbness is also like any other emotion that needs to be treated the same way. And it's just one layer that will lead you to another. Susie, I want to talk to you about another misconception that a lot of people have when it comes to emotions, and that is that time heals everything. As time passes, people are supposed to automatically heal from certain emotionally traumatic incidents in their lives that they experienced. If people encounter certain painful memories or emotions, say 5 years from when it happened, they go into self-judgment about, oh my God, I should have gotten over this by now. Why am I feeling this again? So is this true? Does time actually heal everything, or do we just forget?
Well, if we look at what happens with PTSD patients, we can see that post their trauma, they continue to relive that trauma forever and ever and ever until intervention happens. And therefore, it is very clear that, if it's a milder form of trauma or whatever is our personal experience of trauma, it needs intervention. It needs our intervention. It needs our self-regulation and efforts. And time does not heal the problem. Time acclimatizes us. It makes us used to the pain, just like, if you don't have a limb, you will miss the limb and you'll find it very difficult to walk with one limb, but over a period of time, you get acclimatized to just being with one limb. Time does not heal. Time just gets us used to things. Okay. If our intention is to heal, if the intention is to be complete and whole, if the intention is to be healthy and wholesome in our experience of life, then our intervention and our attention and our attending to these emotions, our pain, our trauma, is absolutely called for and relevant.
The time can make you comfortable with having that emotion stored in your body, but it does nothing for the release of the emotion from yourself. Only processing your emotion can help you actually feel, heal, and release it ultimately. Thank you so much, Susie, for clearing these doubts for people. If you found this video helpful and useful, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.